Alan here, the Urban Arcade, and this is my Nightmare Creatures Random Stories for the PlayStation 1. I do own multiple copies of the game as well. It was an accident on eBay actually, but I've been playing it lately and always wanted to do a random stories of it. I mean, it's one of my favourite games for the PlayStation 1, and if anything, probably one of my first horror games I ever played. Now at the time, PlayStation was my console of choice. I was playing a lot of 3D games, but I didn't own that many. I had Tomb Raider, I was playing Crash Bandicoot 1 at the time a lot. And I received this demo that someone gave me. I think it was the one you got with the console, I'm not quite sure, but I loved it. I loved that you could chop zombies in half, and it was very gritty, very old looking. The demo itself had a Crash Bandicoot 2 video on it, so I ended up playing this instead more than anything. And I just loved it. I had to own the game. It wasn't available till quite a long time after. And it just got me into that old style of London, the old dark gothic side of it. Victorian times, graveyards, old lampposts, and Jack the Ripper. When I see old scenery now, like pavements, lampposts, and old houses, graveyards, it always reminds me of Nightmare Creatures. Just that look and feel about it. I know it's a game, but you do sort of get them memories, they sort of pop into your head. And anyway, quite a time afterwards, I played two different variations of the demo, one being in the Highgate Cemetery. I managed to get hold of the game, and I loved the gritty intro. It had a little story behind it. Little did I know, the Japanese version gave you a bit more information of what the game was about. I even loved the dramatic, over-the-top narrator's voice, Nightmare Creatures. Everything about it, I mean, I was wondering what was I getting into. Was it going to be completely different from the demo like most of them was? And this intro, I mean, look at it, it was so sweet at the time. Good CGI cutscenes. You had the choice of playing between two characters. Ignatius, who kicks ass for the Lord, was my favourite character. I just always felt safe with him. I preferred him and that blunt stick he whacked monsters with. And these combos, I loved him. Just shooting zombies' heads off. He was so angry, you could tell he weren't fucking about. Or you could play as the feisty Nadia. She was crazy. Her combos were insane. Whatever she did was fast and energetic. It seemed like the better choice, but you got to choose. I think one of the first things people noticed upon first playing this game was how violent and crazy it was. I mean, look at that, shooting a zombie's head off for him to get back up. I mean, whatever happened to shoot in the head? It's dead. No, they carry on going. They try throwing punches at you. Craziness. And the scenery, atmosphere on this game was brilliant. I love it to this day. That's what made it so special. The music in the background, it was misty, it was fog everywhere, lightning, rain. Oh my god, and I used to just sit around standing in levels just to see the atmosphere because I loved it so much. That classic cliche horror movie scenery, you know, with spider webs, mice running around, or shall I say big fucking horrible plague-ridden rats. Stuff like that, like ghosts coming out of tombs and coffins and bats flying around everywhere, meat hanging up on hooks. I just loved it. I mean, it was one of them things that you would walk around and think, what next? There was a big focus on detail and it done well. And back to them zombies, I mean, just look at this. I remember the first time I thought I'd experiment with the gun by shooting a zombie to bits, and you can literally shoot all their limbs off. It was crazy, until right at the end where you would shoot them in half and you'd think, oh, so they can die by a gun. And what a shame, I shot his head off and he still kept coming at me. And you could get weapon upgrades. You didn't like your blunt stick, although at the time it seemed to me like it was a blunt stick. You could upgrade it. Brilliant. And the first thing you'd want to do is attack everything in sight with it. Smash these bastards up. And look at these monsters. Or should I say, creatures. And there was a lot of weaponry on this game that you would collect along the way. And poor zombies, as I'm demonstrating everything out on them, so they get slapped about a bit. You could even stun them or throw mist to confuse your enemies and then slice them up. And that was the most funniest thing on this. The enemies, you could even get to fight each other with this voodoo kind of skull. And I always found that quite amusing. You see two monsters going at it, a zombie getting smacked about. So just sit back, relax and watch them fight it out. But as well as that, there was a few jump scares. It was more of a hack and slash game. It wasn't really a survival horror. I didn't think so anyway. But this was my first horror kind of game. So you didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what was around the corner. But then it wouldn't just be zombies, otherwise it wouldn't be called Nightmare Creatures. There was a big variety of monsters to fight. And then you started to realise just how heavy combat was on this game. You could actually fight. You could strategize combos. and you would want to use your melee weapon more than anything, because you didn't get too much ammo on this game or weaponry. There was a lot of weapons on the game, but you needed to save them for more annoying enemies later on in the game. You only realise that way later on, that if you didn't save stuff, you'd get smashed up by these annoying bastards. But then I guess it wouldn't be too good of a game if it was easy. You did get to select how easy it was. So the jump scares, there wasn't too many. There was a few scary moments on this game, but not much. I can mention them as well. And boss battles, what the fuck was this? I remember when I first come across these two guys. Look how crazy this is. I was thinking, one of these guys, what? Two of them? Oh my god, look at this. This is insane. I thought I couldn't beat these guys. And there was boss battles, and let me tell you, the music that played through them was amazing. Heavy metal rock playing in the background. I mean, it got your adrenaline pumping, it made you want to battle, but you couldn't just fight these bosses. They were quite difficult. I mean, the only game I played with good music such as this at the time was probably Tomb Raider, but to have rock music playing while you're kicking ass, come on, that was brilliant. I mean, it was quite hard for me at the time as well, as I didn't know how to fight most of these bosses, but again, trial and error. And you got the option to using passwords on this game to go to different levels, or as cheat codes. Oh, and I am using cheats for the basis of this video. Who cares? You could play as monsters. The monsters in the game. What game at the time or ever since let you do that? I mean, that was brilliant. Look at this. You could smash them up. They were really powerful, and each level let you play as a different monster. I loved it. I just wanted to go through the entire game playing as a monster, but mostly I wanted to play as the fun zombies. They were groovy. I mean, look at them walking about, throwing punches at mid-air. They just reminded me of some random drunk, but you couldn't use weapons with them. Well, you could use that blade thing that let you slice things up. I just wanted to jump in water, get sliced about. You didn't want to get knocked over as a zombie though, because it took ages to get up. Like when you're waiting to kill them when they're on the floor, the same kind of thing. They were always treated so badly, and they were like the lowest of the food chain when it come to the monsters on this game. And it was one of them things, when I did play this, it sort of took me back to the old school classic horror films. Not that I was that big a fan, but it was nice. It sort of really made you feel that atmosphere. It was very cliche and it was very funny. A hack and slash game that was horror based. And like I said before, it was the first kind of horror game I played, so I did play it a lot. But bear in mind, when I first started playing it, I played the demo a lot and thought, do you know what, would I want to own this game? Is it the kind of game I want to play through? And when I did get it, I did play the first level a lot, mainly because I played it on the demo all the time. And then I started to think to myself, I've not actually completed this. I owned it for about 6 months before completing it. I just messed about with the cheats all the time. Just played it for fun, as I thought that was the best thing. I just liked shooting your guns everywhere. But I never really played it and had to struggle until way later on, until I actually decided, you know what? I'm going to turn the game on and play it from start to finish. I was still in that mode where I couldn't take games too seriously. I couldn't play them to completion. And I didn't know you had difficulty settings. You could have it easy, normal or hard. I didn't know that at the time, so I just played it and thought it was quite hard. Knuckle down and complete it, then you'll love it, then you know you've done it. Because the only game that I really completed before that was Tomb Raider, not Crash Bandicoot or nothing after that. So again, it was the 3D games that I just had to play through to start enjoying. This was gaming of today, or at the time, and I just had to be more open to that concept. I mean, it was nice knowing that Highgate Cemetery, a place in London I was about to live near, across the road from, places and locations in London that I went to and visited, like Hampstead. So it was quite nice knowing that. In the end, I did complete it. I played it all the way through, and it was very difficult for me. And I think that's what got me more into Nightmare Creatures, why it is a classic to me, because I did complete it and did finish it. Like them old school games you got on the Mega Drive and the SNES. If you completed it, you've mastered it. And I think what always brings me back is the music, or when it gets to winter. Because I remember when I did play this, it was very dark outside after school. So it's always one of them things, I'd come home and when I played it, it was dark. And that's the best way to experience horror films and horror games, is in the dark. You can feel more of the atmosphere that way. But then I can't really call this a horror game, if anything. I mean, I would say out of everything, Resident Evil 2 got me into horror games. Because again, I weren't open to that concept. I was still there playing games that reminded me of Sonic the Hedgehog, but on a 3D level, which I would say was Crash Bandicoot. And then playing Tomb Raider, so that was more thinking based. And this one was very hack and slash. It was very run in there, guns blazing and getting killed, trial and error. But I still loved it. I still played it a lot. I played it every day for quite a while, for at least 3 weeks where I didn't stop. And then I found out it was on Nintendo 64 with this very laughable intro. To this day it always cracks me up. I mean, look at it. They couldn't have the CGI cutscenes, or so it seems. I played it way later on into the game's life, and I think the main time I played it was on emulators, but I think it looked a lot better. Better smooth edges, better effects, but it was still the same game. At least it was on Nintendo 64, because there wasn't that big a library when it comes to the games that were on the PlayStation 1 like Resident Evil. The only thing that ever scared me on this was Regent's Canal, just the screaming in the background. Hear this. Then you would get to the last boss, and I'm not going to tell you about the story. You should know by now, or you can play it through, because I don't review these. And this was so difficult. He would send these flying minions out to you first, so you'd slap them about a bit. It was a good stage as well. You'd see the burning fire of London, and I didn't know what to use, because I used weapons on this. Could I shoot them or not? But no, you had to literally hit the crap out of them every time. And this level itself was the worst for me. I got killed, I'd say, 1,000,000 times. It also had my favourite song in the entire game on this level, and I always thought he was talking to you there. Like he thought, oh, you've done quite good, now it's my turn. I always used to add a little voice in there, because I thought it was quite funny at the time. Oh, you think you're hard now, do you, mate? We'll have some of this! Yeah! Now, I would say as boss battles go, I think I got slapped more here than any other game. It took me like 3 weeks to find a concept of how to beat him. Use combos only. Oh, I see. And I did that, but I just didn't understand. What combos? The combos you do in game? I tried that. I just keep getting slapped. I mean, look at this every time. I think it was one of them games where I put it down and stopped playing it for a long time until I come back to it. And then I would feel like I was getting somewhere, only to be knocked the fuck down again. I started to hate the song after this. I started turning it off. It was one of them sweaty palm moments where you keep playing it and not get anywhere. And then when you did get somewhere, you would lose all your life, health, everything. You couldn't use weapons, just combos. And when you did start finding out a pattern, you were like, I'm the man. You started hitting him, thinking, oh, look, he's going. Kick this bastard. Go and have some of this, you prick. Oh, look, he's weakening. And you're thinking, what am I doing? Is this what's meant to happen? Am I winning? I'm finally going to destroy this piece of shit. You'd kick him to bits, only for that to just get destroyed. And you get smashed up again, start crying, become a little girl, and then smash the game up. Well, some people did. And then when you finally did beat him, that was so satisfying to see him sitting there dazed for you to chop his fucking head off. Yes! I felt so pleased at the time. My heart was pounding. I didn't even see the ending at first. I couldn't. You know when you're in one of them moods where, oh my god, I beat him, or you've unlocked something, or you've done something you couldn't do for weeks of anger and smashing everything up, and then I finally did it. I was so happy. And then after that, I played it with the cheats and completed it again just to see the ending. It made no difference really, because it was still hard to beat him. I still didn't learn a pattern. All I did this time was I had the aspect of using health whenever I wanted to. And that was Nightmare Creatures for me. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, again, it wasn't a review. I always talk about these games, just a little story, something I wanted to get off my chest, something I wanted to say about them, as there's a lot of really good reviews out there that make my videos seem useless. But it's just one of them things. I just want to talk about what I experienced as a kid playing them, because they're still classics to this day. I still play them. I mean, I played it for this video. I have it on my phone and tablet, and I haven't done a random stories video in so long. I thought this was quite fitting. I mean, I was meant to do this last Halloween, but just didn't get round to it. And now I've got a bit of time on my hands. I thought I'd just knuckle down and get it done. And I had a lot of fun along the way. A lot of memories come back. A lot of things I didn't notice the first, second and third time round, which was quite good. And if you've not played Nightmare Creatures before, give it a go. You will definitely like it. I mean, it's aged quite badly, but I still love it. It's a classic. It's one on there on the list that I have of my greatest games that I played as a kid. And it still holds all them memories. That's why I still play it. Feel free to comment on the video. It's entirely up to you. I've left a load of links there for Twitter, Instagram. You can do exactly what you want. I really don't mind. All I'm happy with is if you enjoyed the video. Again, it's a story I have. I'm going to leave you with a Japanese intro that I didn't see up until recently. It explained a lot more of the story that I prefer now watching it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm going to make many more of these as they are my favourite things to make, and I'll see you next time. Bye.